What's up, guys? This is the Extra Points podcast with the college football experience. We are the college football experience, man. It is springtime. Spring football is rolling all around the country, and we are here to take a little look into the future, into the 2024 season, and talk about a bunch of different teams we think are going to fall off from what they were in 2023, teams we think are going to springboard off of their 2023 season into 2024, and teams we think will rise to the occasion who were kind of the middle of the pack to average teams in 2023, but they'll rise to the occasion in 2024. I got Will here with me like always. Will, man, that was a great Gator update that you gave us the other day, man. Glad to be back with you. How you been? That's a sporty Daytona 500 hat, too, dude.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. Love supporting my NASCAR guys. Yeah, doing great, man. Glad to be here. Glad we could, get together for another episode. It's been a while since we've been together.
Yeah, we've been hitting all the little individual episodes.
Yeah, they were fun. The Florida one was fun. It's always fun to get to do an episode with Cody. And I always love talking a little Gator ball with him.
Gotta love talking it. But before we get going, man, y'all subscribe. We have been putting up a little bit of numbers with the Georgia update, with the Auburn update, with the Florida update. So we need to keep them numbers going. So y'all keep subscribing, man. We have gotten a few the past couple of days. Keep it going. Keep the views up. As always, check out those campus videos from the 2023 season, and we're gonna bring you some more of those in the 2024 season as well. Kind of taking a look forward now at the podcast, some teams we think that will fall off going into the 2024 season. These teams that we're going to talk about, we have 4 different teams that we're going to talk about. Me and Will have 2 of the same teams, and then I have a different third team. Will has a different third team. 3 of these 4 teams made the playoffs, and every single one has a coaching change besides Will's last one. Let me get this situated. There we go. Will, your fall off teams are Alabama, Michigan, and Florida State. Mine are, of course, Alabama, Michigan, and Washington. Let's take a look at Alabama first here. Why do you think they're going to be a fall off team? Because they still have such a loaded roster. They still have a phenomenal coach. He's some would argue he's a top 5 coach in college football. I would say safely he's a top 10 coach in college football. So with all the pieces there, why do you think Bama's going to be a fall-off team from their 12-1 SEC championship semifinal team last season?
Well, I mean, I think when you make the coaching change that there is, I don't care who comes in there. When you lose the greatest coach of all time, you're going to take a step backwards. I mean,
Of course.
it's inevitable. I mean, a lot of change coming in there. I wouldn't want to be the guy that's next after him. The expectations are going to be super high. And then I'm not a firm believer in some of the guys that they have, even though the roster seems pretty good. This team struggled last year a lot. And
At times, yes.
they have a tougher schedule this year.
Mhm.
They have to play Georgia in the regular season. I'm not a firm believer in the quarterback either. I don't think I don't know. I just think it's a natural step back. It's when you lose Nick Saban and the coaching staff that they've been there forever. I just think they're still gonna be good. Don't get me wrong, but I just think it's not gonna be as dominant as they've been. And I think this was already happening with Nick Saban. And now that he's not there, I think they're definitely gonna take a few steps backwards.
I think it's kind of a combination of everything. Them losing guys to the draft, them losing guys to the portal. I mean, them losing Caleb Downs to Ohio State, them losing Isaiah Bond and Amari Niblack to Texas, them losing Trey Amos to Ole Miss. And I mean, so they're going to have a lot of attrition in the secondary. I think their secondary is going to be really young this season. But kind of like you were pointing to, Jalen Milroe in this Kalen DeBoer system, how's he going to do? I think he'll be okay, but there's definitely going to be a learning curve. I could honestly see him relying on the run game kind of heavy to start the season because they'll still have a couple good offensive linemen. You still have Caden Proctor that left to go to Iowa, but now you can transfer however many times you want. So he left Iowa and then he's back at Alabama now. So it's just crazy. I think they're going to rely heavily on Justice Haynes. He kind of shined in the Rose Bowl. And there's just so much turnover, and it isn't even at the head. It's not at the head coaching position. It's at the offensive coordinator. It's at the defensive coordinator. I mean, there's just so much turnover. And like you said, their schedule's not easy. They're on the road at Wisconsin, Tennessee, LSU, Oklahoma. Those aren't easy places to play. And it's Alabama coming into town. First year without Saban, there's going to be blood in the water. Everyone's going to be even more fired up to beat them because without Saban there, I mean, there's still that script A on the helmet, but there's people will not see it as intimidating, I think. And then, of course, they do get Georgia and Auburn at home. So we already think Alabama's going to take a step back. That's extremely natural. This other one, I think, for us to think that Michigan's going to take a step back, that's obvious. They won't go undefeated. They won't win the national championship game this year. I mean, they just have so much roster turnover, so much coaching turnover. They're losing J.J. McCarthy. They're losing Blake Corum. They're losing the entire offensive line. They are losing their top two receivers. They're losing their top two tacklers on on the defensive side of the ball, and they lost their two top safeties to either injury or the transfer portal. So just that alone is insane.
Yeah, I think this is very. It's a different situation than Alabama, but it's going to be kind of the same thing. It's just going to be it was bound to happen. Even if Jim Harbaugh stayed, they were going to take a few steps backwards just because of the
100%.
roster turnover.
Mm-hmm.
And they were literally just building up for this one season in 2023 to hopefully win the national championship. And everything went their way, and they got that done. So this was going to happen either way.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's too much to handle. Ohio State has literally built up
for this season
super team, pretty much. I want to call them. And then the Big Ten got tougher, man. With their scheduling, and dude,
they have to play USC. They have to play Oregon, and I think you were about to say this too.
Yeah, they play Texas, right?
They play Texas week 2.
Yeah, they play Texas. So tough schedule. It's a fun schedule. Finally, we get to see Michigan play a pretty tough schedule because they've had some snoozers the past few years.
And three out of those 4 games, you have the Texas game is at home. They play Oregon at home. They play USC at home. And then they go on the road to Ohio State to end the season. And I do know the Big House kind of gets a bad rap for some games because it's more of a white-collar crowd. But it's still the largest stadium in all of college football. So it's an intimidating place to go to. And going on the road in college football is never easy. So for those big games to be at the Big House, that's really beneficial for the Wolverines. Now, Will, tell me why you think Florida State's going to fall off this year, because they did go 13-0 in the regular season, got snubbed from the college football playoff, got blown out in the Orange Bowl, but that really wasn't the Florida State team from the season. It was a hollow shell. So why do you think Florida State's significantly going to fall off?
So I don't know. They're still going to be very competitive in the ACC this year, just because of the way the conference is. Just losing a lot of productivity this year. Losing Keon Coleman, losing Johnny Wilson, losing Jordan Travis, which obviously, when he wasn't playing the last 3 games, you could tell a huge difference.
They were hurting.
I mean, DJ Ugangale? I don't know how do you pronounce his name. I was pretty close though.
DJ Uyagalele, I think.
Ugangale. I will say this: he's coming pretty heavy. He's weighing about 255 right now, which was kind of his same issue at Clemson. He was too heavy. So I think he's going to be productive for him, but he's not going to be as productive as Jordan Travis is. Just my personal opinion. So I think they will have some struggles, and if they get in a few one possession games, can they win them? Can they beat Clemson again? Can they beat Florida again?
They go on the road to Notre Dame.
Yeah, they go on the road to Notre Dame. That'll be a tough one, which I could see them losing. So again, I just don't see them going 13-0, 10-2, 9-3. I could see this team kind of losing a few games just because, and they're replacing a lot on the defense. Their defense really was really good last year. The defensive line, they had some freak athletes on the defensive line. I mean, guys, they killed it at the NFL Combine. So, which Mike Norvell's pretty good at, with the portal, and he brought in a really good 24 class. So it'll be interesting for sure to see what they can do. The schedule does help them out a little bit, but they do have some tough ones, like we mentioned with Notre Dame, Clemson, and Florida. So I just don't think they're going to go undefeated. I think they could possibly miss the playoffs as well.
Yeah. I think it'll be interesting. It all hinges. Can we get the DJU from Oregon State, or are we going to get the DJU from Clemson? I think we're going to get the DJU from Oregon State. So I don't think they will go 13-0. I could see them going 11-1 regular season with the chance to win the ACC. I could see them going 8-4 and them completely missing the playoffs. But that's just how thin the margins are, sport of college football. And the last team that I think is going to fall off, this is a no-brainer, absolute no-brainer. It's the Washington Huskies, either to the draft or to the portal. I think it's like 21 of their 22 starters are gone. Like over 3/4 of the two deep on the offensive and the defensive side of the ball gone. Head coach Kalen DeBoer is, of course, at Alabama. They bring in Jed Fish from Arizona. He has a tall task ahead of him. I think he was thinking he was going to get Noah Fifita to follow him from Arizona to Washington, but no, he gets Will Rogers from Mississippi State. Woo, that's a winner right there. And I mean, it's just a no-brainer. There's just too much to replace. They're going into a new conference. I don't think they'll be terrible. I don't think they'll be like 5-7, 4-8, but they could go 6-6. They could go 7-5 for sure.
I don't care if Kellen DeBoer stayed on as the coach. This team was going to take some step backwards.
Oh yeah, because there's simply no way they could go undefeated again.
Yeah, with the schedule change to go into the Big Ten, and you were going to lose your 3 best playmakers anyway.
You're going to lose quarterback.
Yeah, your Michael Penix, your 2 wide receivers. I mean, this team was going to take a step backwards anyway.
Right.
So now that you had all the transfers, you had, Jed Fish didn't get the guy he wanted at quarterback, but you do get a decent guy, all-time leading passer in SEC history with Rodgers. So, he's not a scrub, so he can spin it. But this team, it's going to be you're not playing the Pac-12 no more. You get the Big Ten coming in. It's going to be kind of weird seeing them come over here and play in the Big Ten and stuff. So it'll be interesting for sure to watch them and see how they do. But I could see 6-6. I could see 8-4. I mean, you you just don't know. But this team was going to take a step backwards anyway.
For sure. From teams that we think are going to fall off from their 2023 seasons, let's take a look at teams we think are going to springboard off. So teams, especially since we have the expanded playoff now, teams that were right there on the bubble, teams that were on the bubble that are really going to benefit from their 2023 season. They're bringing back a lot. They've made a few tweaks to the roster. They really hit the portal hard. And then they're going to go into this 2024 season with the playoffs in mind. Looks like we got two of the same, Will. So let's talk about Ole Miss first. Why is Ole Miss going to be a springboard team going into 24?
Well, the productivity you brought back. I mean, I think, and then you hit the portal hard. You got a
God, did
ton
they
of.
hit the portal hard?
You got the best portal class, I think, coming in, and you got the guys. You got the coach. Can he win the big game?
Yeah.
That Nick Saban, monkey on your back is gone. He's not there no more. So, you do got a tough little schedule, but I think the 12-team playoff sets up for Ole Miss to make the playoffs. I mean, they can go 10-2 and make it. I mean,
oh yeah,
I don't see why not. I love the quarterback. Honestly, I think the running back transferring to Ohio State
was probably for the better.
It was for the better. That come to find out, he maybe was a little bit of a cancer in the locker room and stuff.
Yeah.
So sounded like maybe he was a me guy. So I'm excited to watch them play. See what they can do. Can they take that next step? And I definitely think they will. So what about you?
I think they saw this year as such a target year. I think when Lane Kiffin and his staff were looking at like the 3 to 4 year plan, I think this season might be why he didn't take the Auburn job. Because he saw what he had developing and said, we'll save all of our NIL in the transfer portal. And then this season, all of these guys will be back if we're able to convince a couple of them to stay. And then we're pushing all our chips to the middle of the table. And that's exactly what they did. They hit the portal so hard. They were able to get Princely from Florida. They were able to get Walter Nolan from Texas A&M. They were able to get Chris Paul Jr. from Arkansas. They solidified that front seven of the defense, which is where they've struggled. That's what's been losing them games. Then they go and get Juice Wells from South Carolina, who, when he's healthy, he can be a top receiver in the SEC. And then you have Jackson Dart coming back for what I think is his third season under Kiffin now. So him and Kiffin, they're like a different side of the same card. I mean, they're going to know each other so well.
They look great in the bowl game. They beat Penn State.
Right.
I mean, he looks really good. I will say if they went after the defense, which is what they need to address. It's kind of always been the issue of the Kiffin team is just the defense. So I will say this about Ole Miss. One thing you talked about their NIL, dude. It's one of the best in the country. They have a lot of participation. I think, dude, they got like over 17,000 people that donate to it. They have one of the best ones. And they have like a partnership with Realtree as well.
Yeah,
which is pretty cool.
And I think that Lane Kiffin does such a good job promoting it too. It's like, because when you see him when he talks to the media, he almost seems like a quiet guy. But then when he's on social media, he's a little bit more he's like a little bit more outlandish, you could say. He's a little bit more, not bubbly, but he has a little bit more swag to him whenever he's behind the camera and the phone. But I mean, just looking at their schedule now, they have a cake of a non-con: Furman, Middle Tennessee, Wake, Georgia Southern. Then they get Kentucky, South Carolina. They go on the road to LSU. That's going to be a big one. Following week after that, well, they have a bye week. Then they play Oklahoma at home. That's a huge one. I wouldn't mind going to that game, honestly. Then Arkansas, Georgia, Florida, Mississippi State. Big 3 games there. LSU, Oklahoma, Georgia. You got to go 2 and 3 in those 3 games. And I think they could do it. Honestly, that's a big game versus Georgia. That's a really, really big game versus Georgia.
Well, they Georgia kind of blew them out this past year, so
Beat the piss out of them.
it'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see if they've closed the gap, if they can just play better in that game.
Yep. One, excuse me. One other team that we had the same was Oregon. I mean, their only 2 losses this past season were to Washington, who went to the national title game. Both of those games came right down to the end. They arguably should have won the first one. They should have won the first one, honestly. They had every opportunity to. But I think Oregon's kind of been building up and building up and building up. They've been stacking talent and in the portal and through high school. I mean, I think they're the second best talent roster in the Big Ten now. And then they're losing Bo Nix, but they're getting Dylan Gabriel, who's a perfect fit for that system.
Yeah, I like Dylan a lot. He's going to fit just well. I don't think they're downgrading by any means. I think he's about the same as Bo Nix when it comes to talent wise. I feel like he's been in college for about 8 years now, so
Forever.
I feel like he's been around for a while. So Dan Lanning's done a good job. There's a reason why everybody thought he was probably going to go to Bama. He's a big time coach. If he's not a top 5, he's probably around 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Current college coaches right now. He's going into the Big Ten. I think they're going to go try to win it, man. I mean, you at least you got to get past Ohio State to win it. But
they host Ohio State too.
Yeah, so they're instantly coming in being one of the favorites to win the conference, which is good. Let's see if they can win the big game. It just seems like they lose that big game every year. Last year it was Washington. But Dan Lanning, he has that Kirby Smart, Nick Saban formula
Dude, he's so intense, and I love it.
Yeah, I do too. I like him a lot, actually. He does a good job running the program. He's just young enough to where he can kind of
he's able to relate.
Relate with the kids, hang out with them, and I think he's kind of cool, man. I'll be honest with you. I bet he'd be fun to hang out with and maybe, go drink a beer or two with
on the golf course or at the lake or something. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So he's building that defense up. He has the formula for it. So if he can get a dominant defense out west, bro, they'll be really hard to beat.
And they are losing some pieces to the draft. They're losing Troy Franklin to the draft, but they're replacing him with Evan Stewart from Texas A&M, who was one of the most coveted wide receivers in the transfer portal. He goes from College Station to Eugene, Oregon, to suit up for the Ducks this fall. There are 2 more that I think that can springboard off of their 2023 season. This first team is a team that we talk about every year. Can they break through? It's a team we talked about last summer. Can they break through? Can they finally do it? Can they smash the glass ceiling that they've been banging their head against for years? And that glass ceiling is Michigan, and that glass ceiling is Ohio State. And the Penn State Nittany Lions last year, they ramped up. Their engines were roaring. And boy, did they take off and did they smash their head on that glass ceiling, and it did not break. It did. It did not break. I mean,
you're dead wrong about them, bro.
Dude, God, and it pissed me off. But have you seen those videos where a dog's been running and they didn't see that the glass door was still shut, and he just smashes into it? That was Penn State last season to me. I mean, there was just so much hype. There's so much hype around them. This is going to be the year that they do it. And then they don't. Drew Allar kind of fades in the big games. That's being polite about it. But they were able to address their problems. They go get Andy Kotelnicki, Kansas's offensive coordinator for the past couple years, and we all know how fun Kansas has been to watch on the offensive side of the ball. He's been one of the reasons Kansas has been revitalized to what it was. So he's the highlight going into 2024 for me. What is he going to do with this offense? I mean, they still have so much talent up there. And I think he'll have this whole offseason with Drew Allar, and he'll be able to say, like, hey, this is where you struggled. This is where we're going to get better. They were able to bring in Julian Fleming from Ohio State to Penn State. They did lose. Oh, man. They did lose Manny Diaz to Duke, but they replaced him with Tom Allen from Indiana. Wasn't a great head coach, phenomenal defensive coordinator, has a long, long history, and their load's a little bit lighter this season. They don't have to play Michigan. They don't have to play Oregon, and they get Ohio State at home. So
their schedule is a cakewalk. It sets up to make
for
the
them
playoffs.
to go. It sets up for them to go 11-1 and to
if they don't go 11-1,
yeah.
I mean, the USC Wisconsin games.
Yeah, those are tough.
I could see them
those
losing
are winnable
Wisconsin,
games, though.
but they're coming off a bye week.
Favored in both of those.
They're coming off a bye week for the Wisconsin game, so
right. They should be favored in every game, but maybe the Ohio State game.
Yeah, I think it really just depends on what USC does with quarterback and can they get their defense right for me to even consider them to have a chance. But if Penn State doesn't get it done this year, they won't ever get it done.
I don't want to say they won't ever get it done, but
it sets up for them to get it done. This is the best this is the best chance you have. You don't have to play Michigan.
They don't have an excuse to not make the 12-team playoff.
You don't have to play Oregon. You don't have to play Oregon. UCLA is terrible. Wisconsin's still trying to figure it out. USC, we have no idea. I mean, Ohio State.
It's going to be a juggernaut.
If you lose to them, I will be okay with it.
That's excusable.
If you make it a competition, you you could probably have a home game for the first round.
Yeah.
Of the playoffs.
And this is a program that, like, the 12-team playoff was made for, to be able to get the access, but their history shows they lose against the really big, really good teams. So until they have success in the playoff, because I think they're going to make it pretty consistently, I think their new glass ceiling, I think the ceiling is still there, but now it is just having success in the playoffs, because I think they're going to make it, obviously, because they're just that type of program. But it's just having that consistent success, getting to the semifinals, stuff like that, like being able to get out of the first 2 rounds.
It'll be they'll get like a SEC team, and they'll come in there and beat them at their home place.
Like
LSU.
I was just about to say get like freaking Penn State versus LSU, and then you get Penn State comes down to Death Valley and they win.
I think LSU.
You think LSU would go up there?
I think LSU would go up there and win, and we'd all be like, "They're never gonna."
We freaking told you about Penn State.
Yeah. That's what I think. I mean, I don't know. I think the schedule sets up for him. Let's see if Drew's the real deal. He's a little disappointing in some of his games.
Yeah,
I think the offense just was too conservative for him, and you got to go out there and try to win the game, man.
I mean, but they still have arguably a top 5 running back duo, Nick Singleton and Katron Allen. I mean, they're still dogs.
I would
they're
say
still
it's right,
so good.
They might be the best duo coming into this year.
I mean, you have Travion Henderson and you have Quinshon Judkins. Oh my God, that's
Yeah,
insane. That's
yeah.
insane. And the last team that I think is going to springboard into 2024 is the Missouri Tigers. Man, that they were fun to watch last season, and they have the perfect
Gritty.
combination of having good returning production and having a pretty favorable schedule from SEC standards.
Must be nice.
That is the name of the game for Missouri. And I mean, they get Brady Cook back. They get their top 2 wide receivers back. They get most of their offensive line back. They get 2 transfer portal running backs in that will be perfectly fine for them. And I mean, like I said, they have the favorable schedule. They're getting Auburn and Oklahoma at home. And then they go at A&M, which can be hit or miss. They go to Alabama, but we've already talked about them. Alabama's going to be a fall off team this year in our eyes. And they're on the road at South Carolina, which can get a little feisty. And then of course they play Mississippi State on the road. I mean,
It's it's
I
an
just
easy
think it's
schedule.
yeah.
I think the schedule sets up for them to have success. They
Hmm.
were a gritty, tough team last year.
Really gritty.
Just wouldn't give up, fought hard, won a few games at the end of the fourth quarter. Put a won a pretty good game in the Cotton Bowl with against Ohio State, which I know Ohio
Hmm.
State wasn't fully there, but still they beat them. So this schedule sets up for success. I could see them making it.
Hmm.
They got a few games they need to win. I think to make the playoffs, to springboard into that. I
Hmm.
think like an eighth or 12th team in the playoff,
Hmm.
maybe somewhere around there. So it's
I
good to
could
have.
honestly, I could see them being like the SEC team that gets screwed because there's a auto bid for the G5, where like you have a 10-2 Missouri and you have like an undefeated Liberty. You have like an undefeated Memphis, where they just get in because they've played a joke of a schedule. They've built a talent roster. They were able to keep a couple guys out of the portal, but then you have Missouri, who's arguably a top 7, 6, maybe 8 team, but they've just played a, they've played some stiff competition, and then they have to get screwed because of auto bids. So I could see that being what happens to Missouri this season, or that could happen to a team like Penn State too. I mean, just depending on the way that things shake out, man. But I just those Missouri Tigers are going to be tough this year. And last but not least, teams we think will rise up in 2024. We have 2 of the same ones again. We will stick to those. Miami and Tennessee are 2 teams that we have in common. I expect big things from Miami this season.
They're going to be better. They have to be.
Yes.
They've
There's too
recruited
much
really
talent.
well.
There's
Yeah,
too much talent.
too much talent. They brought in Cam Ward from
Mhm.
Washington
Who was
State.
surprising because he was going to the NFL, but then he had a
Yeah,
change of heart.
yeah. I'm sure somebody got offered him some money or something.
Definitely.
Uh, yeah, so Miami should be better. I mean, gosh, they've had a lot of one possession games they've lost.
Mhm.
I think Miami and those guys, they'll turn it around this year. They'll win a few more games than they've lost. Dude, they could beat Florida State, man. They could beat Florida. They could
Yeah.
beat they could win the ACC.
They could definitely
So,
win the ACC.
I mean, I don't see why they couldn't.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, they had such a good recruiting class in the 2023 cycle that they had to play them last season. And those guys got some reps up under their belt. There's no replacement for live game reps. And those guys were able to get it in 2023. So that's going to help the Hurricanes exponentially in 2024. They returned 79% of their offensive production. And then they add that with Cam Ward. And they've been able to bring in a couple of other transfers on the offensive side of the ball, too. I think that offense, if Cristobal doesn't screw it up with his terrible in-game coaching, that I think Miami, I'm going to say it. I'm going to make a prediction right now. This is stupid of me, but I'm going to do it. I think Miami is going to win the ACC. I think they're going to do it. They have 3 really big games that I think are kind of toss-ups. They start the season at Florida. Man, I would love to go to that game. And then they play Florida State at home, and they're at Louisville. I mean, it's a 3-game season for Miami. Those are the games that can be kind of toss-uppy, and those are the games that they have to win if they want to prove that they're back.
Nah, there's gonna be some team on that daggum schedule, like last year, Georgia Tech for them.
Well,
Somebody's gonna show up and be in a ball game with them, and they're gonna have to win it.
See, but is it because the other team's going to be in it, or is it because Cristobal's just going to crap the bed?
I don't know. It could be Virginia Tech at home.
Ooh, sneaky game on the road to end the season at Syracuse.
Yeah, at Syracuse, at Georgia Tech. I mean, bro, if that game was
find a way to crap the bed.
It's going to be just one of those crazy games that nobody's going to expect. They got a Friday game. That's usually these ACC teams. Yeah, Virginia Tech at home on a Friday night.
Like a little sleepy game.
That's going to be the game. They're going to lose.
Oh, man.
Something crazy like that, dude.
See, but they avoid Clemson. They get Florida State at home. I mean, I think it sets up perfectly for
it does
to make a run.
It does. I'm with you. I think they could definitely win it this year. They're going to look better than they had before.
Yes.
They're too talented not to. They have a way better quarterback. So dude, this team could easily go 10-2.
That they could easily go 11-1.
Yeah.
And bro, do you know if they come into the season primetime game, they beat Florida in the Swamp. They play Florida A&M. They play Ball State. They play South Florida. They're 4-0 getting Virginia Tech at home. The media is going to be, oh my gosh, Miami's back. I'm telling you.
Loses to Virginia Tech.
Oh, dude, that would make me sick. That would make me sick.
Just the trends, just the trends of college football, just what they've done the past 2 years. I can see it. I mean,
dude,
Cam Ward maybe gets hurt or something in the game, has to miss the second half. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, things definitely happen. Golly, man. I mean, things happen, and especially when you have the wild card in-game coaching.
Yeah. What about old Rocky Top, man? What do you think about Tennessee? Why do you think they're a rise up team?
One word, one player, Nico Ilialamieva, or however you say his last name. I mean, Nico. Nico. I mean, I think it hinges on him, kind of like it hinged on Hendon Hooker. I mean, when that offense has elite quarterback play, it is just able to take advantage of really bad corners, which a bunch of defenses have. There's only so many good corners to go around. And then there's so much field. They take advantage of the wider hash marks in the sport of college football. And if you have an elite quarterback to sling it around, then there's only so much you can do.
Well, I kind of mentioned this about them when we were talking about their 23 season. Their wide receiver play went down from
Mhm.
22 to 23.
Right.
And I think the wide receiver play, it might not be as elite as 22, but it's going to be better.
Than it was
So,
last year. Yeah.
I just think the wide receiver play hurt Milton a lot. And I think this year the wide receiver play will be better, and it's going to help Nico.
Well,
Um,
he also sucked. He was exactly what we thought he was gonna be.
uh, I don't know. I don't think he was just awful, but I don't think he was as good as what Tennessee fans wanted him to be.
No.
He was very inconsistent with the short
Sporadic.
with his short game. Has a really good long ball, but
Mhm.
I think Nico's going to have to play better.
Yeah.
He's going to have to learn how to run the offense. Let's not forget this is his first season starting, but I do think the schedule sets up for them. They could
Mhm.
easily start 3-0. They go to Oklahoma, go to Arkansas. Florida comes to them. Alabama comes to them. Kentucky
Mhm.
comes to them. Mississippi State comes to them.
Then they gotta go to Georgia
Go to Georgia, and
at
then
the
last
start
two
of
games.
November.
Yep, UTEP and Vanderbilt. So, dude,
Yeah.
easily could go 10-2,
2, 11-1.
11-1, 9-3 at the minimum.
Yeah.
I think this team could. Gosh, they're going to be one of the ones that
And
gets. They're going to get left out of the playoff,
yeah.
possibly.
Yeah.
But they're going to be one of those who be like, man, I
That
wish this was a 14-team
team,
playoff.
yeah.
But
And we've slowly seen improvements in this Tennessee defense too. 2022 was suspect. 2023 was a little bit better. They had their ups and they had their downs, but they showed signs of improvement. Can they show that consistency in
hey,
2024?
we watched live in Tuscaloosa, and they look good.
They shut down Alabama in the
I
first
thought
half.
I thought the whole team looked pretty good in the
Yeah.
first half. They Josh Heupel, man, he does a good job uh, with um, coming out
Hot.
of the locker room. They come out hot. He needs to work on some adjustments and
Yeah.
stuff, making in-game adjustments.
Yeah.
Um, but I do think he does a really good job with the script plays coming
Mhm.
out, and he'll go down and score on you.
Yeah.
Uh, but if he can get his in-game adjustments right, dude, they're gonna be dangerous.
They are going to be dangerous. So let me hit one of my teams before we talk about our two last teams, our beautiful two last teams. Notre Dame is going to rise up in 2024. They're bringing Riley Leonard in at QB from Duke. He did have a minor surgery this spring to kind of clean some stuff up in that ankle. Some people are concerned about it. Some are not. I'm on the fence about it because that does happen a lot when you do have a break like he did to have to go in there and clean some stuff up, have to replace a plate, have to replace a screw, something like that. He should hopefully be ready to go this fall. I don't know how limited his mobility will be post surgeries. We'll have to see, but I am going into the season that he'll be healthy, ready to rock and roll. They got Mike Denbrock. Do you know who that is, Will?
Mm-mm.
The offensive coordinator from LSU last year. Bringing him in, and that's something with the Irish that we've always said, like, oh, well, they really don't have a great offense. They've always been able to have a decent defense, but they've always kind of struggled on the offensive side of the ball. They've always been a little stale. I think Mike Denbrock coming in, pairing him with Riley Leonard, that's going to be phenomenal because we saw what he did with Jane Daniels last year. We saw what he did with the combination of his legs and his arm. That's where Leonard shines. That's where he absolutely shines. And they have a really good talent roster. Their past three recruiting classes have all finished within the top 10. They've been hitting the portal hard. They've been able to address places of need, and the schedule bookends with games on the road. They open the season at Texas A&M. They close the season at USC. Those are both two losable games. Sandwiched in between them is Florida State. Every game in between those is an extremely winnable game for the Irish. So
They got a
I
fun
think,
schedule.
yeah,
They
yeah,
they got a fun schedule.
yeah,
I mean, every game on here is winnable.
abs-
Uh,
absolutely.
I
The
mean, they can
the only
go,
game they won't be favored in will probably be the Texas A&M game, and even then, that's just
bro.
what
If they
like
win that game, ESPN will not stop talking about them,
they're gonna love the Irish. And
especially if they look good.
oh yeah,
But
oh yeah,
again, this is one of these teams. One of these teams will come up into Notre Dame and beat them, like
yeah,
Louisville,
yeah, yeah,
uh, FSU
yeah.
could beat them. I mean, like, a team that we possibly wouldn't think they could probably challenge them. Georgia Tech, somebody crazy like that
Yeah.
would beat them. That just seems to always happen with them. But
Mhm.
I could see them going 11-1, even
Yeah.
going 10-2. I do like Riley
Yeah.
Leonard coming in there. I think his ankle's going to be fine. I don't think it's going to be a big
I
deal.
hope so.
Super talented roster. Love their coach. Um, he's a young
Dude,
guy as well.
I love me some Marcus Freeman.
Yeah, I like him too.
I
He
mean,
seems like a cool dude.
he's young, he has a ton of energy, seems really intelligent.
Oh yeah.
I
I see
mean,
why, like, if he come into my living room, why, like, I would want my
I
son
would
to play for
want to
him.
go play for him.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, bunch of people are hating on the Gators. Bunch of people. Florida's not going to win a Power 5 game this year. Florida's not going to do this. Why do
God
you think
dang.
Florida's going to rise up?
Who says we're not going to win a Power 5 game?
You have some people saying Florida's going 3-9. You have some people saying that boy Billy's going to be
Well,
fired by
the
October.
3-9 would be 2 Power 5 wins.
Oh yeah, true.
But yeah, the schedule seems tough when you look at it. Look, the first 7 games are winnable. All 7 games are winnable games.
Then you get to November.
Yeah, November's tough. Got Ole Miss at home though. LSU's at home. I think we could win those 2 games. Don't feel good about Georgia or Texas. But FSU, I feel good about. I think we can go into Tallahassee. They're going to have a weird stadium situation. So it's not going to be full. So it's not going to be loud. Look, I think the teams hearing this all off season, you don't have a chance. You don't have a chance. Well, I mean, I think returning 80% of production, Graham Mertz coming back, had the most freshmen in the country playing last year. You just mentioned it with Miami, how game reps are way more important than anything else. Well, we got the game reps.
Yeah.
We addressed the offensive line. We had guys playing tackles last year that were really guards. They've moved into guards. We got our tackles. We brought in pass rushing. We brought in linebackers. We got depth everywhere. We got to figure out who can replace Ricky. That's going to be our biggest question mark on offense. Losing ETN sucks, but we got production at the running back room. We got a guy.
Sounds like he didn't want to be there anyways. So
yeah, we got.
If you don't want to be there, see you.
Yeah, it's fine. We got guys there that can do it. You got DJ Lagway coming in. Would love to see him have a package deal. But
I think Florida has to ride Mertz.
they're going to. He's going to be the guy
because he was not the problem last year. He
the
was
defense
not the problem. And from everything that I've heard from spring, that it looks like the defense has kind of been improving. That they've kind of been like the stars of the show in spring.
Look, we replaced some coaches that weren't coaching. We brought some guys in that want to coach ball. We brought Ron Robertson to help us out with the defense, former defense coordinator from Auburn.
Yep.
And if you look at what he did from the 2022 Auburn defense to last year, they improved drastically. So they're going. I just want to see him flying around. Don't make the dumb mistakes. Let's make some tackles. There's going to be some big plays, but let's
Which is nice.
tackle them, and let's play the next play.
Yep.
So I could see us going 7-5. 7-5
That
would be
would be
awesome.
that would be a massive year, especially with this schedule. I think if you're Florida and you go 7-5 this year, you have to say hold on to your britches because here we come in 2025.
Oh yeah, 25 will be a playoff team if we can do well this year.
Yeah. And last but not least, I think my Auburn Tigers rise up in 2024. I truly, truly do. And I mean, it I think it all relies on our 2024 freshmen to pop. I mean, like they have like we need some to step up on the defensive line, and we specifically need our freshman wide receivers to stand to pop, especially one specifically. Y'all have heard me talk about him. Y'all have heard Logan talk about him. Cam Coleman. I was just listening to an interview with Hugh Freeze today, and he said Cam Coleman, out of all the wide receivers I've ever had on a team of mine, he is bar none the most talented that I've ever had. And so
It's
we've gotten Peyton Thorne the help now. So that help needs to step up so he can be the most successful that he can be. Hugh Freeze is also going to be calling the plays. That's huge. And there's more
Let me ask you,
cohesiveness. Oh, yeah.
as an Auburn fan, do you care that he calls plays?
Yes.
Like, do you want it
I
like
want him calling
oh,
plays.
okay, okay. So, but
I
like
want Hugh
it
Freeze calling
doesn't
plays.
it doesn't bother you that your head coach is calling plays?
No,
Okay,
because
good.
just because I
Glad.
trust the staff that he brought in.
I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Yeah, I want Hugh to call plays. Just because what we saw in 2023 was this crap where they would flip-flop back and forth. It was obvious when Hugh Freeze was calling the plays. It was obvious when he had his hands so deep in the so deep in the game plan. It was the Georgia game. It was the Alabama game. I mean, where we were so outclassed with the roster, but we were still able, just because he was scheming up plays so well, that we were
Well,
able to take advantage of that. And I think he'll be able to scheme these freshmen open, and they'll just be able just because they're so raw. I think he'll be able to scheme around Peyton Thorne's insufficiencies, and that
Cam Cam's gonna be like a Julio, AJ Green
right,
type, come
right,
in, make instant impact. I mean,
exactly is what we need.
when you watch videos and they're just all standing there, you can tell who he is.
Hmm.
He just looks like a freak.
Right.
I love the hires of DJ Durkin and Charles Kelly. Two
Hmm.
guys. Charles was at Florida State for a long time with Jimbo. DJ Durkin was at Florida. Will Muschamp, he was at Texas A&M. Two defensive guys that Hugh Freeze does not have to worry about the defense with those two guys calling
Which is
plays.
exactly what he was saying today. I was when ever I was listening to him, I was like, he he even said that the coaching staff that he had last season compared to this season, there's so much more togetherness. There's so much more
Yeah,
unity within this roster. There's so much more compatible. The word he used is we're a lot more compatible coaches. So it isn't
they
that the coaches were bad. It's just he kind of had to throw a staff together, and now he's really been able to go out.
well
He's really been able to get the guy that he gels with. So
they
now it's
had
more of a cohesive unit.
they had some issues last year.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people know about, and
No.
you kind of have to know somebody within the
Here,
program
yeah, yeah. You can
to
hear them
know
through the
about it.
grapevine when you live around
Uh,
here.
yeah, so they had some issues last year, and they've corrected those issues and got rid of those issues.
Mhm.
Um, some guys that just needed to go, and some cancer guys. So it seems like now they brought in some guys uh, that they're comfortable with, and that
Mhm.
makes it feel like more of a family. And
Mhm.
um, if Hugh's comfortable with his staff and they don't have issues going on internally, then this
Then
team can turn
that'll
it.
reflect on the team. Yeah.
This team can turn it around, and let's not forget this is the easiest Auburn schedule they've had in
And probably my whole entire lifetime.
what
Probably my
since the
whole entire
early yeah
adult existence.
the early 2000s maybe,
Yeah.
I don't know, the mid 2000s. So
And plus thing, we should have been a 7-5 team last season
could have been, yeah.
with that much of a turnover of a roster. And we were in one play of beating Alabama. We were within one drive of beating Georgia. So I think, like any season, that it'll be determined by just a couple bounces of the ball. But I think that Auburn has set himself up in a position to rise up. I don't think we'll sniff the playoffs. I think Auburn could be a 8-4 team with like a bounce of a ball going the wrong way, where we could say like, oh man, we were so close to being 9-3 right there on the borderline of the playoff. But I think this is going to be a rise up season. So going into 2025, we can be one of those springboard teams and springboard into that 2025 season where all of these freshmen that are coming in, where they are mature and they're able to get going.
It'll be interesting to see what Hugh does with the quarterback. They brought in a guy
I
with
think
this
it'll be
24
Thorne.
class. They brought in a guy with this 24 class. It's
Walker
going to be
White.
Thorne this year. It's going to be Thorne. I'll be interested to see if he's inconsistent or anything if Hugh says, I want my freshman out there.
Yeah.
He's my guy. And then can they reel in the big fish and Juju
That'd be
out of Carrollton High
insane.
School?
That would be insane. I mean, because there is a little bit of buzz. I mean, he has been down to Auburn multiple times. He's said how much he likes Auburn, but I would say Auburn's probably in third place behind USC and the Dogs for Juju. But man, I would roll out the Brinks truck and I would let Hugh work his magic, because I think Juju could be he would fit so good with Freeze. But Will, we've almost been going for an hour, dude, and it's spring ball. It's spring, man. That's just what college football can do to you, man. Where like there's just so much to talk about. This sport never ends. There's always so much to look forward to, man, and I love getting to come and talk to you about it.
Yeah, dude, this is so much fun to talk about. It'll be here before we know it. We're literally in the middle of spring ball. It's fun to get to watch them, practice and stuff. But
Yeah, but the spring will be done before we know it, and then there's going to be another crazy portal season, especially since you can transfer anywhere, how many ever times you want to now. So I think the spring portal has potential. I don't know if it'll be as crazy as people are saying, but it definitely has the potential to be crazy. But we will be able to talk about that here on the Extra Point when all that does happen. Will, man, I've loved talking to you tonight. Y'all do not forget to subscribe, and to subscribe. Don't forget to do it. You also can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts as well. Will, I will talk to you later, my friend.
deuces.